I always hated it when people came into the ministry when I was here and said, oh, y'all don't know me, but I love you. Y'all don't know me, but I love you. And I'm doing this, everything that I have to say, everything I'm saying to y'all, I don't mean to be preachy. I'm saying it from a place of love. I've been literally exactly where you are. I know how hard it is, and I was so bullheaded. It took me months and months for it to get through my head that I needed to be here. I want y'all to get that sooner if you haven't already. Some of y'all are about to walk out the door. And I just want you to get everything out of this experience that you possibly can, because it is an amazing place to be. Okay. So, welcome to Freedom Talks. My name's Lindley Penix. I am 44 years old. I was born and raised in Newport. I left when I was 18 for college, moved back almost 20 years later with my husband at the time and our 2-month-old daughter. I need to pull my notes up. I have 2 little girls now, Alice and Stella Blue. We usually sit right back there for church on Sundays. We're here every other weekend when I have them at my mom's house in Newport. I live in Searcy now. I graduated almost a year ago, and that means I've been sober for 2 years next week. And and that is so amazing and so awesome, and I don't even know the exact date anymore because it's not about sobriety. Sobriety isn't a given. It's never a given, but it's not what I'm striving toward anymore, if that makes any sense. So, okay, let me show y'all real quick. One of the really fun parts about going to rehab in your hometown is all the stupid things that you did when you were drunk or high or whatever. You're being reminded of that every time you drive through town, every time you're going somewhere to work, when you're going to another church to sing, whatever. And I was reminded of one driving here tonight, the gas station that people walk to when they walk. It's 2.7 miles down the road. I tracked it on the odometer a million times the first few months that I was here when I thought maybe I'd take off someday. And there's a 4-way stop right past it. And for years it had a flashing red light, and apparently they've just gotten rid of that. And so I'm driving here tonight and I get to that 4-way stop and I'm reminded once again of the time probably a year before I came here. We had a massive ice storm in Newport. My pipes busted at my crappy little apartment, and so I was going to stay with a guy in a town about 20 minutes away, because that's what I did back then. And I stopped at the gas station to try to get the ice off my car and throw away the bottle of whiskey that I had in the car. And got to that 4-way stop, and I spent about 15 minutes waiting for the light to change. I backed up and came at it from different angles. I cussed. I was so mad, but I wasn't going to run the light. I'm already, taking a bunch of benzos, drinking whiskey, and driving in an ice storm, but I wasn't going to run the red light. And it wasn't until I got here and had been clear-headed and sober for a while that we're going through that light to go to Searcy to work or something one day, and I remember, oh yeah, okay, I sat there for 10 or 15 minutes one night waiting for a light to change that wasn't ever going to change. So, okay, I'm going to read for a little bit. So, I always had what I called an addictive personality. If I liked something, I loved it. I grew up in a house with alcohol and parents who drank reasonably. I don't remember ever seeing either of them drunk. I was mixing drinks from the liquor cabinet for myself and my friends by the time I was about 12. I always used alcohol to curb big emotions. If I was really happy, I wanted to drink. If I was really sad, I wanted to drink. And that drink was usually whiskey. I was prescribed Klonopin when I was pretty young and Adderall a few years after that, and I kept taking them for the next 2 decades. I didn't learn to abuse the Klonopin until I was in my 20s, and Adderall I abused almost immediately. By the time I came here, my script had been at 330s a day for years, and I ran through that in about a week. And looking back, the alcohol and the benzo mix should have killed me, and I had no doubt that if I hadn't gotten in the kind of trouble I got into when I did, had to dry out for 2 weeks in jail, and then gotten to come here, I would have died. And I just thank God that all the stupid things that I did, that he got me here before it was too late. And on that note, John 3:17 is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's not a get-out-of-trouble-free card, and I'm proof of that. When I came here, I wasn't a felon. I had 2 felony charges. 6 months after graduation, I had court for those, and I'm a felon now. The whole year I was here, I watched people I was with go to like their 6-month meetings with judges and stuff and come back and had these great stories of how the judge was so proud of them, and their record's wiped clean, their charges are gone, and I had so much hope that would happen for me, because, I'm not going to be a felon, what? And Roger Rudd called it. He would tell me whenever we talked about it, he'd say, Lindley, I think the best you're looking at is getting some felony probation. And I'd cry every time, because I just had a feeling that when it came to sentencing and judges, Roger knew what he was talking about. But he did. He was right. And so I'm on felony probation for another 1.5 years, and I'm still alive, It's not the end of the world. It's not my favorite thing about myself, but,
And you didn't go to prison.
And I didn't go to prison. So, okay. Self-control is my favorite fruit of the Spirit. Self-control is how I know God is with me. All my life I've done what I wanted when I wanted. I lived my life on a whim. I dropped out of college my senior year because I didn't want to go anymore. The thought of just pushing through anything that wasn't fun or wasn't what I wanted at the moment was just a completely foreign concept to me. Then I got scared about a month in here by a movie in Poppy's class, and that day I got dunked. And I came up out of that water with self-control. Maybe that's the moment I fully submitted, I don't know. But I know that I was always envious of the people who had the stories that were like, I was in jail, or I was in an alley and I hit my knees and I cried out to God and said, I can't do it anymore. And then I had, from that moment on, I knew God was with me. I never had that moment. Not everybody does, and that's okay. But I swear, I just came up out of that water, and I was able to say no to things. I was able to make better decisions. It's just pretty amazing. But however you came to Christ, it's valid and it's real. Whether you had the big boom moment or not, it's real. So, I understand we have one woman in the ministry right now who's from Newport. Is that right? Is she here? Right there? Oh, she's in childcare. Okay. Well, I had some things to say specifically to her, but
She'll want to hear it.
okay. Okay, thank you. I'll come back to it. So when Suzanne picked me up from jail, I knew that I was coming to rehab with 40 other women. I understood that. I didn't understand that they were all going to want to hug me, and that. And I think my first words to Poppy were, I'm not a hugger. And God bless that man. He respected that. And we got to know each other on my time. And I'll always love him for that. But so a big part of what got me running was wanting people not to touch me. And I got here in January, so my running started in this room, just running in circles. Anytime I had a chance, I was running. I was Forrest Gump. So if I was moving, no one could touch me, no one was talking to me. I'm such an introvert, y'all. I'm still up here just shaking.
You're doing great.
Thank you. When I was running, I could be alone with my thoughts. I mean, in between, every break, in between class, everything I was running. And then during exercise one morning, during a Leslie video, the endorphins kicked in, and y'all, I did not stop moving. And while I was in the ministry, before I really opened up to trying to model Christ-like behavior in my day-to-day dealings with other women here, making sure that I had access to the gym is what kept me most of the time being in control of what I said, not being a complete jerk, not showing my butt constantly, because I did not want that taken from me. And I'm telling you this because I was never like an exercise person. I have friends who run. I thought they were insane. And regular exercise, it just makes things better. It improves you physically and mentally. Your brain works better when your body gets exercise. If you're on antidepressants, they'll be more effective if you exercise. And you can ask your doctor about that, it's true. And, you're here. You're just in a unique position to better yourself for the rest of your life. And getting your body in better shape is just going to improve everything going forward. Let me skip ahead a little bit. So, y'all still have Tom Tackett as a teacher? Okay, good. So I'm sure he has told you everyone has an agenda. Yes. And I guess my agenda is to talk to y'all about exercise and not getting out of the ministry and hooking up with a guy right away. But so he tells you everybody has an agenda, and that's true. And one of the things that exercise did for me is it gave me time to process what we'd learned in class, what's made preached at us the day before, all that good stuff. And you want to think about what you've learned makes you feel, how it fits into your life, what in your life pertains to the lessons you heard in class that day. I miss my treadmill time in the ministry. I go to an awesome gym now where there's a literal cinema theater with the big screen showing movies 24/7, and I zone out while I'm running, and it's super nice. I love it, but it's nothing like just communing with God like I did on my 48 minutes that I was allotted on the treadmill while I was here. Okay. Y'all, I have to have my coffee. I have to tell y'all this. I'm a writer and I'm an editor. I studied journalism in school, in college for 4 years. I was an editor at a magazine in Little Rock for a little while. When I edit my own stuff, I get insane. And I will edit and edit and edit until it goes to print or until I literally have to leave my house, and seriously to be here on time. And I was editing to the last minute so hard that it got to where either I could put on makeup or I could get coffee. I got coffee. And this is mascara. This is car mascara. So, okay. So, it's really easy to fall into a relationship. This is for after you graduate. It's easy to fall into relationships to save us from ourselves, from bad situations, from a dull existence. And for most of my life, I didn't realize it, but I used men to get me out of situations I didn't want to be in. Usually that was just being tired of whoever I was dating and making sure the next guy was lined up before I left. And I see friends I was with in the ministry doing this. I see women who graduated before me doing it. I've had to stop myself from falling into the same trap. After you graduate, it's just as easy to find somebody you're interested in and get them interested as it ever was. And it feels good to be wanted. Just don't fall into that trap. Don't go get married immediately just because it's easier. If the reason you're thinking of being with someone is because you think it's what's best for your kids, it probably is not what's best for your kids. If you're going to be with someone, because the living situation means that you're going to have more access to your children, but it's not where you're supposed to be. Don't do that. It's going to go bad. Even if it means that you're apart from your children for a little bit longer, you have to be able to make it on your own 2 feet. You've got to be able to support yourself. And it's hard to balance that after a year in a ministry where everything's provided for you. It's hard to go back to paying bills and being responsible for all of that. It's super hard, but you can do it. So something I've experienced that I never had before I came here is a work ethic. When 317 would send me out to clean somewhere, I would always joke that never in life had someone said, "We need this really clean, get Lindley Penix in here." Like, it did not happen. I grew up in a house with a cleaning lady. When I was married with children, I hired other women to clean my home. And a week after I graduated from the ministry, I felt blessed to get a job cleaning houses for the woman and the company that I used to hire to clean my house in Newport. And that is so humbling. That's still what I'm doing. It's been almost a year, and I'm still going and being humbled every single day that I go to work. The cleaning company that I work for is owned by this amazing Christian woman, and she's in recovery. She has one of the biggest hearts you'll ever see. And if anybody's moving to Searcy after graduation, I will totally get you hooked up with working there, because it is a great place to get on your feet and get started. And for me, it's not financially sustainable. I make enough money to pay my bills and get my 7 brew, but that's it. I have a really big fear of rejection. It makes it hard for me to put myself out there and apply for jobs. I'm scared to death that I won't get hired anywhere, and that I'm going to find out that as a felon, I really can't do better than $11.50 an hour, that I'll never again have a job where I contribute with my brain. But I'm pushing past that. I have to be able to support myself, and I don't think this is where God wants me. I believe he wants something different for me, and that keeps me going. So when Chris asked me to speak to y'all, everything was on a really high note. I had just interviewed with and gotten offered a job with a company in Newport heading up their HR. I was going to make good money, have an apartment that had a room for my kids, and when I envisioned myself doing this speech, before I'd written it or anything, I pictured myself coming here after a day at my office and telling you all about all the great stuff that was going on and all the good things that'll happen if you just keep God first and keep your eye on him. And it's been 2 months, and I haven't heard anything from that company. And the high point of my work day today was I met a cool dog. And he was a really cool dog. But, so here's the thing. When you truly submit, when you have that heart change that comes from giving everything over to God and fully accepting his love, you make it through things like this, like doing a job that you don't love, and a lot worse than that, with joy in your heart. I don't love scrubbing toilets at all, but I love doing a good job, showing up to work every day, even when I really don't want to, and hopefully showing anyone who's watching that I'm a new creation, that God has changed me and I'm better for it. And that's super boring. So you've changed so much, but the world around you hasn't. Transitioning, I can't stress enough how important living in transition is after you graduate. I'm an introvert, I'm very independent, I like doing my own thing. It was, as much as I love being back to see y'all, it was torture being around all these people all this time. Up until like a month before I graduated, I was planning on going back home and living in Tuckerman. And thankfully, I chose to go to the transition house in Searcy, and Bev would be here, except I didn't tell her I was doing this, apparently. So that's my bad. I thought that I had texted her and Heather and let them know, and apparently I did not. So she's probably pretty upset with me right now. So chose to go to transition, and I think that has been absolutely crucial to my continued recovery. In a transition house, you're going to have some space to yourself. You're going to have time to yourself. You're going to be making your own decisions, all those things that you're dying to do right now that you haven't gotten to do for the last 2 months or 6 months or almost a year. But you're still going to have that accountability. Right after graduation, it's super easy to want to, maybe not even want to just be thinking like, oh, I could get on Tinder, or oh, I can get on my phone and talk to one of these people who was trying to hit me up over the last year. The temptation is always out there. When you live in transition, I think you're a lot less likely to act on these things that, I mean, if I'd done it, that would have brought me down. Oh. Yeah. Accountability. When you live in a transition house, you have that accountability. You know that somebody's there for you. You know that somebody's watching out for you. They're not watching you every second, but you still have other people around. It remains a safe space. So, I love being in a relationship. I love men. That was a big problem for me. Being away from men for an entire year, I thought would kill me, but it's one of the best things that could have happened for me. Never realized how much of a need I had to have attention from men until I couldn't get it for a year. Every one of you is worth so much more than a good time. You were before you got here, but you especially are now. And after you graduate, you have to keep concentrating on you and on your relationship with God. Be the woman God wants you to be. When the time is right, and that's God's timing, not yours or mine. Because if it was mine, I would be, married and all that already. I would have found like my dream man, and that would all be happening. No, it's in His timing. The relationship you're supposed to have is going to happen. For me, I like the idea of eventually being with someone who has also been in a long-term ministry situation. I feel like for the rest of my life, I'm going to be saying, when I was in the ministry, blah, blah, blah. I know my kids are already sick to death of it, but I want to be with someone who has been through that and who understands. It's not just me, telling stories about something that I endured or something I made it through. It's something that fundamentally changed who I am and how I will live the rest of my life, and that I'm proud of. So, and I don't mean to say that men in recovery are perfect and they're angels and they're a safe choice. They're not. They're the same men that you were doing whatever with before you got here. Like, literally, it's the same guys. Some of them have gone through the change that you have and are good people now. Some of them aren't. It's a crapshoot out there. But, so, just sum that up. Don't put yourself in a one-on-one dating situation immediately, because you're not going to be ready. Use the discernment that God has given you. So this is super embarrassing to talk about, but this all has been one stop now. Something that worked for me while I was here was praying to God to take away my lust. I was sick of it, and He did. And as I submitted more, read my Bible more, I got more specific in my prayers. I prayed that as God was making me into the woman He wanted me to be, He was also working on my future partner, making him the man he's meant to be. I prayed that I would meet him in church or in the gym. And now I've met men at the gym, and I've amended that to just church. So obviously I'm not dating yet, but when I do, I feel confident that as long as he and I both keep God front and center in the relationship, then we're both going to know if it's where we're supposed to be. So you have an entire year to change your life. Or if you only have 6 months or 2 months or whatever left, you have that much time left. So many people would love to have this opportunity. Take full advantage of it. Learn your Bible, get healthy, enjoy the break from worrying about bills, read. You have an entire library, thanks to Laura and her mother. Don't just read the Amish romances. Read some C.S. Lewis. If there is any C.S. Lewis, I would be happy to donate some. Let yourself be vulnerable to healing and improving yourself in this safe place, because it is a safe place. Learn to love yourself, accept that God loves you, and prioritize Christian love in your relationships going forward. That's it, I'm done. Okay. Thank you.